In this break from the Matrix, I wanted to cover this video that I saw from James Lee. Shout out to James Lee because he does some great work. But I did have people reach out to me and they want to know my thoughts on the Hantavirus. Granted, we did talk about it myself and Till talked about it on the live stream, but figured I wanted to share a couple of thoughts, and I feel like this video from James Lee helps encompass some of my thoughts. Hopefully you enjoy, and I'll get back with you on the other side.
Pierre Corey, take a listen.
What actually kind of intrigued me more, Natalia, about what you said is a colleague told me that there was like 100,000 articles written around the world on hantavirus in the last couple of days. And that's not typical for a hantavirus outbreak. Certainly there's always attention and people get scared, but like that's the other thing with COVID. It was COVID 24/7. And then when you said in your intro about how it seems to be driven by influencers, I'm sorry if I'm getting too like I don't know. I actually never want to use the word tin hat because I'm not a tin hat, but these patterns are anomalous. Why, with just this little outbreak of a few cases, suddenly like it's consuming the world's media cycle? Like, for instance, I'm on talking about it today. It's because it's being driven by something.
I don't know about you, but my spidey senses are also going off right now because something just doesn't feel right.
So my thoughts on that is, just like I said in there, for those who didn't catch the live stream, my thoughts were, it was kind of weird to me that all of a sudden this hantavirus went so viral and so many people were talking about it. And I know there is a lot of PTSD from, the pandemic that we had a couple of years back. But I thought this is something, it's a little bit more than this. And sometimes it can be, well, I hear certain news from certain people and maybe my community of I guess influencers, for lack of a better word, are the people who mostly are kind of more concerned with these types of things and are skeptical of, things coming from the government and of the pandemic in general. So it's more likely that my feed would probably generate more videos like that for me to consume. But when I heard that how many videos were going on about the hantavirus worldwide, it told me that this is something that is not just within my feed. This is something bigger. And why is it being pushed so much? As you heard with that, with the image that I put on the screen and the amount of cases that we've had of the hantavirus going back for many, many years, it's kind of a very rare virus, and it's not a new virus as some may think because they've never heard of it before. But as you can see from, this clip here.
Is your mother?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus.
As of May 2026, a specific Andes strain hantavirus outbreak linked to a cruise ship has resulted in 11 cases, including 3 deaths. While this specific cluster has global attention, the CDC reports that 890 cases of hantavirus were reported in the United States total between 1993 and 2023. Yeah, this clip here from the X-Files shows that this is something that's been talked about for a while, and it's kind of interesting that it was kind of thrown in there, and the X-Files is kind of the place which it was shared on, being with the whole UFO files and all that stuff. I just found it kind of interesting, and shout out to my cousin for sending me that video. But like I said before in the Shahid Bolson video, whenever we hear these stories, we got to be careful just jumping on them and run with them, because sometimes there is a bigger narrative that's trying to be pushed. And I wonder if that's the case for all of these stories to pop up globally in the hundreds of thousands. Now, granted, it can be a collective conscious kind of thing where everybody is worried of the next super virus that's going to come around because of the pandemic. Just like this other video that I'm going to show real quick.
And the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts, provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
This woman, they kind of looked at her as kind of a quack in a sense. I'm not saying that that's what I think of the lady, but she's kind of considered more disreputable in the medical community. But the fact that somebody of that kind of prestige, somebody that's made it to that level of prestige to be able to speak on those levels, that they're concerned, it shows that there's legitimacy for people to be worried about that. And now I'm not going against anybody's perception or beliefs or what's happening and what's not happening. I think we should always be very hyper vigilant on what the hell is going on, because there's so much stuff that's going on that's not true in so many ways that people are trying to manipulate us. But I kind of hold out till I hear a little bit more where I'm more certain before I'll kind of jump on the bandwagon. Maybe that might make me a little later to the party on some things, but I just think it gives me better peace of mind to be more certain before I push the information out to the rest of you guys, because I know people are busy. Everybody doesn't have the time to get in and investigate all these things and double check this and double check that. And maybe some people, even if they have the time, they're maybe not as thorough and maybe feel like they don't know exactly where to look on those things. Or some people hear something and they're one of those quick, make up their mind, make a decision, and straight to action. And so sometimes you might need that other person who's around, who's going to be a little bit more, let's just wait, and kind of give you that other side of the coin to kind of reflect and think about it in other perspectives that you might not have saw. So hopefully this was edifying. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and talk to you on the next one.